God, Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, blue, this book of Amos. The book of Amos says, 9, okay. The words of Amos, a sheep breeder from Tekoa, who prophesied concerning Israel in the reigns of King Uzziah of Judah and Jeroboam, son of Joash of Israel. 2 years before the earthquake, he proclaimed, Our Father in heaven roars from Zion, shouts aloud from Jerusalem, and the pastures of the shepherds shall languish, and the summit of Carmel shall wither. Thus said our Father in heaven, for 3 transgressions of Damascus, for 4 I will not revoke it, because they threshed Gilead with threshing boards of iron. I will send down fire upon the palace of Hazael, and it shall devour the fortresses of Ben-Hadad. I will break the gate bars of Damascus, and wipe out the inhabitants from the vale of Aban, and the sceptred ruler of Beth-Eden, and the people of Aram shall be exiled to Kir, said our Father in heaven. Thus said our Father in heaven, for 3 transgressions of Gaza, for 4 I will not revoke it, because they exiled an entire population, which they delivered to Edom. I will send down fire upon the wall of Gaza, and it shall devour its fortresses, and I will wipe out the inhabitants of Ashdod and the sceptred ruler of Ashkelon, and I will turn my hand against Ekron, and the Philistines shall perish to the last man, said our Father in heaven, Elohim. Thus said our Father in heaven, for 3 transgressions of Tyre, for 4 I will not revoke it, because they handed over an entire population to Edom, ignoring the covenant of brotherhood. I will send down fire upon the wall of Tyre, and it shall devour its fortresses. Thus said our Father in heaven, for 3 transgressions of Edom, for 4 I will not revoke it, because he pursued his brother with the sword and repressed all pity, because his anger raged unceasing, and his fury stormed unchecked. I will send down fire upon Teman, and it shall devour the fortresses of Bozrah. Thus said our Father in heaven, for 3 transgressions of the Ammonites, for 4 I will not revoke it, because they ripped open the pregnant woman of Gilead in order to enlarge their own territory. I will set fire to the wall of Rabbah, and it shall devour its fortresses. Amid shouting on a day of battle, on a day of violent tempest, their king and his officers shall go into exile together, said our Father in heaven. Thus said our Father in heaven, for 3 transgressions of Moab, for 4 I will not revoke it, because he burned the bones of the king of Edom to lime. I will send down fire upon Moab, and it shall devour the fortresses of Kiriath, and Moab shall die in tumult. Amid shouting and the blare of horns, I will wipe out the ruler from within her, and slay all her officials along with him, said our Father in heaven. Thus said our Father in heaven, for 3 transgressions of Jehudah, for 4 I will not revoke it, because they have spurned the teaching of our Father in heaven, and have not observed his laws. They are beguiled by the delusions after which their fathers walked. I will send down fire upon Judah, and it shall devour the fortresses of Jerusalem. Thus said our Father in heaven, for 3 transgressions of Israel, for 4 I will not revoke it, because they have sold for silver those whose cause was just, and the needy for a pair of sandals. I, you who trample the heads of the poor into the dust of the ground, and make the humble walk a twisted course. Father and son go to the same girl, and thereby profane my holy name. They recline by every altar, on garments taken in pledge, and drink in the house of their Elohim. Wine brought with fines they imposed, yet I destroyed the Amorite before them, whose stature was like the cedars, and who was stout at the oak, destroying his bows above and his trunk below. And I brought you up from the land of Mitzrayim, and led you through the wilderness 40 years to possess the land of the Amorite. And I raised up prophets from among your sons, and Nazarites from among your young men. Is that not so, O people of Israel, says our Father in heaven? But you made the Nazarites drink wine, and ordered the prophets not to prophesy. I will slow your movements as a wagon is slow when it is full of cut grain. Flight shall fail the swift, the strong shall find no strength, and the warrior shall not save his life. The bowman shall not hold his ground, and the fleet-footed shall not escape, nor the horseman save his life. Even the most stout-hearted warrior shall run away unarmed that day, declares our Father in heaven. Hear this word, O people of Israel, that our Father in heaven has spoken concerning you, concerning the whole family that I brought up from the land of Egypt. You alone have I singled out of all the families of the earth. That is why I will call you to account for all your iniquities. Can 2 walk together without having met? Does a lion roar in the forest who when he has no prey? Does a great beast let out a cry from his den without having made a capture? Does a bird drop on the ground in a trap with no snare? Does a trap spring up from the ground unless it has caught something? When a ram's horn is sounded in a town, do the people not take alarm? Can misfortune come to a town if our Father in heaven has not caused it? Indeed, my Father Elohim does nothing without having revealed his purpose. To his servants the prophets, a lion has roared, who can but fear? My Father Elohim has spoken, who can but prophesy? Proclaim in the fortresses of Ashdod, and in the fortresses of the land of Egypt. Say, gather on the hill of Samaria, and witness the great outrages within her, and the oppression in her midst. They are they are incapable of doing right, declares our Father in heaven. They store up lawlessness and rapine in their fortresses. As surely, thus said our Father in heaven, Elohim, an enemy all about the land. He shall strip you of your splendor, and your fortresses shall be plundered. Thus said our Father in heaven, as a shepherd rescues from the lion's jaws two shank bones or the tip of an ear, so shall the Israelites escape who dwell in Samaria with the leg of a bed on the head of a couch. Hear this and warn the house of Jacob, says my Father Elohim, the Elohim of hosts, that when I punish Israel for his transgressions, I will wreak judgment on the altar of Bethel, and the horns of the altar shall be cut off and shall fall to the ground. I will erect the winter palace together with the summer palace. The ivory palaces shall be demolished, and the great houses shall be destroyed, declares our Father in heaven. Hear this word, you cows of Bashan on the hill of Samaria, who defraud the poor, who rob the needy, who say to you, husbands, bring and let's carouse. My Father Elohim swears by his holiness, the old days are coming upon you when you will be carried off in baskets into the last one in fish baskets, and taken out of the city, each one through a breach straight ahead, and flung on the refuse heap, declares our Father in heaven, Elohim. Come to Bethel and transgress to Gilgal, and transgress even more. Present your sacrifices the next morning and your tithes on the third day, and burn a thank offering of leavened bread, and proclaim freewill offerings loudly, for you love that sort of thing, O Israelites, declares our Father in heaven, Elohim. I, on my part, have given you cleanness of teeth in all your towns, and lack of food in all your settlements. Yet you did not turn back to me, declares our Father in heaven. I therefore withheld the rain from you 3 months before harvest time. I would make it rain on one town and not on another. One field would be rained upon, while another, on which it did not rain, would wither. So 2 or 3 towns would wander to a single town to drink water, but their thirst would not be slacked. Yet you did not turn back to me, declares our Father in heaven. I scourged you with blight and mildew repeatedly. Your gardens and vineyards, your fig trees and olive trees were devoured by locusts, yet you did not turn back to me, declares our Father in heaven. I sent against you pestilence in the manner of Egypt. I slew your young men with the sword, together with your captured horses, and I made the stench of your armies rise in your very nostrils. Yet you did not turn back to me, declares our Father in heaven. I have brought destruction among you. As when Elohim destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, you have become like a brand plucked from burning. Yet you have not turned back to me, declares our Father in heaven. Assuredly, because I am doing that to you, even so will I act toward you, O Israel. Prepare to meet your Elohim, O Israel. Behold, he who formed the mountains and created the wind, and has told man what his hope is, who turns blackness into daybreak and treads upon the high places of the earth. His name is our Father in heaven, the Elohim of hosts. Hear this word which I intone as a dirge over you, O house of Israel. Fallen not to rise again is made in Israel. Abandon all her soil, with none to lift her up. For thus said our Father in heaven, Elohim, about the house of Israel. The town that marches out 1,000 strong shall have 100 left, and the one that marches out 100 strong shall have but 10 left. Thus said our Father in heaven to the house of Israel, seek me and you will live. Do not seek Bethel, nor go to Gilgal, nor cross over to Beersheba. For Gilgal shall go into exile, and Bethel shall become a delusion. Seek our Father in heaven, and you will live. Else he will rush like fire upon the house of Joseph, and consume Bethel with none to quench it. Ah, you who turn justice into wormwood, and her righteousness to the ground. Seek our Father in heaven, who made the Pleiades and Orion, who turns deep darkness into dawn and darkest day into night, who summons the waters of the sea and pours them out upon the earth. His name is our Father in heaven. It is he who hurls destruction upon strongholds, so that ruin comes upon fortresses. They hate the arbiter in the gate, and detest him whose plea is just. Assuredly, because you impose a tax on the poor, and exact from him a levy of grain. You have built houses of hewn stone, but you shall not live in them. You have planted delightful vineyards, but shall not drink their wine. For I have noted how many are your crimes, and how countless your sins. Your enemies of the righteous you take as a bribes, you who subvert in the gate the cause of the needy. Assuredly, at such a time a prudent man keeps silent, for it is an evil time, seeks good and not evil, that you may live, and that our Father in heaven, the Elohim of hosts, may truly be with you, as you think, hate evil and love good, and establish justice in the gate. Perhaps our Father in heaven, the Elohim of hosts, will be gracious to the remnant of Joseph. Assuredly, thus said our Father in heaven, the Elohim of hosts. In every square there shall be lamenting, in every street cries of woe. In the farm hand shall be called to mourn, and those skilled in wailing to lament. For there shall be lamenting in every vineyard too, when I pass through your midst, said our Father in heaven. You who hope for the day of our Father in heaven, why would you want the day of our Father in heaven? It shall be darkness, not light, as if a man should run from a lion and be attacked by a bear, or if he got indoors, should lean his hand on the wall and be bitten by a snake. Surely the day of our Father in heaven shall be not light, but darkness, black as night without a glimmer. I spurn your vegetables. I am not appeased by your solemn assemblies. If you offer me burnt offerings or your meal offerings, I will not accept them. I will pay no heed to your gifts of famine. Spare me the sound of your hymns, and let me not hear the music of your lutes. But let justice well up like water, righteousness like an unfailing stream. Did you offer sacrifice and oblation to me these 40 years in the wilderness, O house of Israel? And you shall carry off your king, Succoth and Kiyan, the images you have made for yourselves, of your Ashur deity, as I drive you into exile beyond Damascus, said our Father in heaven, whose name is Elohim of hosts. As you who are at ease in Zion and confident on the hill of Samaria, your notables of the leading nation, on whom the house of Israel pin their hopes. Cross over to Calneh and see, go from there to Great Hamath, and go down to Gath of the Philistines. Are you better than those kingdoms? Or is their territory larger than yours? Yet you ward off the thought of a day of woe, and convince a session of lawlessness. They lie on ivory beds, lolling on their couches, feasting on lambs from the flock, and on calves from the stalls. They hum snatches of song to the tune of the lute. They count themselves musicians like David. They drink straight from the They drink straight from the wine bowls and anoint themselves with the choicest oils, but they are not concerned about the ruin of Yosef. Assuredly, right soon they shall heed the coming of Ixaz. They shall loathe no more at festive meals. My father Elohim swears by himself, I loathe the pride of Yaakov, and I detest his fortresses. I will declare forfeit city and inhabitants alike, declares our Father in heaven, the Elohim of hosts. If 10 people are left in one house, they shall die. And if someone's kinsman, who is to burn incense for him, comes to carry the remains out of a house, and he calls to the ones at the rear of the house, are there any alive besides you? He will answer, no, none. And he will say, hush, so that no one may utter the name of our Father in heaven. For our Father in heaven will command, and a great house shall be smashed to bits, and a little house to splinters. Can horses gallop on a rock? Can it be plowed with oxen? Yet you have turned justice into poison weed, and the fruit of righteousness to wormwood. Those who are so happy about Lo-Dabar, 2 towns east of the Jordan, recovered by Israel by Jeroboam, who exalt by our might. We have captured Karnaim, but I, O house of Israel, will raise up a nation against you, declares our Father in heaven, the Elohim of hosts, who will harass you from Lebo Hamath to the Wadi Araba. This is what my father Elohim showed me. He was creating a plague of locusts at the time when the late sown crops were beginning to sprout. The late sown crops after the king's reaping, when it had finished devouring the herbage in the land. I said, O our Father in heaven, Elohim, forgive. How will Jacob survive? He is too small. Our Father in heaven relented concerning this. It shall not come to pass, said our Father in heaven. This is what our Father in heaven, Elohim, showed me. Lo, my Father Elohim was summoning to contend by a fire which consumed the great deep and was consuming the fields. I said, O our Father in heaven, Elohim, refrain. How will Yaakov survive? He is so small. Our Father in heaven relented concerning this. That shall not come to pass either, said our Father in heaven, Elohim. This is what he showed me. He was standing on a wall checked with a plumb line, and he was holding a plumb line. And our Father in heaven asked me, what do you see, Amos? A plumb line? I replied, and our Father in heaven declared, I'm going to apply a plumb line to my people Israel. Or pickaxe. It says, meaning of Hebrew, certain I replied, and our Father in heaven declared, I'm going to apply a plumb line to my people Israel. I will pardon them no more. The shrines of Isaac shall be laid waste, not the sanctuaries of Israel reduced to ruins. And I will turn upon the house of Jeroboam with the sword. Amaziah, the priest of Bethel, sent this message to King Jeroboam of Israel. Amos is conspiring against you within the house of Israel. The country cannot endure the things he is saying. For Amos has said, Jeroboam shall die by the sword, and Israel shall be exiled from its soil. Amaziah also said to Amos, Seer, off with you to the land of Jehudah, earn your living there, and do your prophesying there, but don't ever prophesy again at Bethel, for it is a king's sanctuary and a royal palace. Amos answered Amaziah, I am not a prophet, and I am not the prophet's disciple. I am a cattle breeder and a tender of sycamore figs. But our Father never took me away from following the flock, and our Father never said to me, go prophesy to my people Israel. And so hear the word of our Father in heaven. You say, I must not prophesy about the house of Israel or preach about the house of Isaac, but this I swear is what our Father in heaven said. Your wife shall play the harlot, and in time your sons and daughters shall fall by the sword, and your land shall be divided up with a measuring line, and you yourself shall die on unclean soil, for Israel shall be exiled from the soil. This is what our Father in heaven Elohim showed me. There was a basket of figs, he said, "What do you see, Amos?" "A basket of figs," I replied. And our Father in heaven said to me, "The hour of doom has come for my people Israel. I will not pardon them again. And the singing woman of the palace shall howl on that day, declares our Father in heaven, Elohim. So many corpses left lying everywhere. Hush. Listen to this, you who devour the needy, annihilating the poor of the land, saying, if only the new moon were over, so that we could sell grain the Sabbath, so that we could offer wheat for sale, using an ephah that is too small and a shekel that is too big, tilting a dishonest scale and selling grain refuses grain. We will buy the poor for silver, the needy for a pair of sandals. Our Father in heaven swears by the pride of Yaakov. Maybe that means the pleasure of Yaakov. It's saying pride a little too much in this interpretation. Our Father never swears by the pleasure of Yaakov. I will never forget any of their doings. Shall not the earth shake for this, and all that dwell on it mourn? Shall it not all rise like the Nile, and surge and subside like the Nile of Egypt? And in that day declares our Father in heaven, my Elohim, I will make the sun set at noon. I will darken the earth on a sunny day. I will turn your festivals into mourning, and all your songs into dirties. I will put sackcloth on our loins and tonsures on every head. I will make it mourn as for an only child. All of it as on a bitter day. A time is coming, declares our Father in heaven, Elohim, when I will send a famine upon the land, not a hunger for bread or a thirst for water, but for hearing the words of our Father in heaven. Men shall wander from sea to sea and from north to east to seek the word of our Father in heaven, but they shall not find it. In that day the beautiful maidens and the young men shall faint with thirst. Those who swear by the gate of Samaria, saying, as your Elohim lives, Dan, and as the way to Beersheba lives, they shall fall to rise no more. I saw our Father in heaven standing by the altar, and he said to me, strike the capital so that the thresholds quake, and make an end of the first of them all. And I will slay the last of them with the sword, and not one of them shall escape, and not one of them shall survive. If they burrow down to Sheol, from there my hand shall take them. And if they ascend to heaven, from there I will bring them down. If they hide on the top of Carmel, there I will search them out and seize them. And if they conceal themselves from my sight at the bottom of the sea, there I will command the serpent to bite them. And if they go into captivity before their enemies, there I will command the sword to slay them. I will fix my eye on them for evil and not for good. It is my master, the Elohim of hosts, at whose touch the earth trembles, and all who dwell on it mourn. And all of it smells like the Nile, and subsides like the Nile of Egypt, who built his chambers in heaven, and founded his vault on the earth, who summons the waters of the sea, and pours them over the land. His name is our Father in heaven. To me, O Israelites, you are just like the Ethiopians, declares our Father in heaven. True, I brought Israel up from the land of Egypt, but also the Philistines from Kaphtor, and the Arameans from Kir. Behold, our Father in heaven, Elohim, as his eye upon the sinful kingdom. I will wipe it off the face of the earth, but I will not wildly wipe out the house of Jacob, because our Father in heaven. For I will give the order and shake the house of Israel through all the nations, as one shakes a sand in a sieve, and not a pebble falls to the ground. All the sinners of my people shall perish by the sword who boast. Never shall the evil overtake us or come near us. In that day I will set up again a fallen booth of thy wood. I will mend its breaches and set up its ruins anew. I will build it firm as in the days of old, so that they shall possess the rest of Edom and all the nations once attached to my name, because our Father in heaven, who will bring this to pass? A time is coming, because our Father in heaven, when the plowman shall meet the reaper and the treader of grapes, him who holds the bag of seed. When the mountains shall drip wine, and all the hills shall wave with grain, I will restore my people Israel. They shall rebuild ruined cities and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and drink their wine. They shall till gardens and eat their fruits. And I will plant them upon the soil, nevermore to be uprooted from the soil I have given them, said our Father in heaven, your Elohim. It's some good stuff right here. Yeah, Father Messiah was baby with us. That was the book of Amos. Father willing, we may just keep it going, you know. Father Messiah was baby with us. Going on to the book of Obadiah.